Okay. We are in the second Sif. Page, what do you have? Zain?
8 lines.
Oh, 8 lines down, right. The line begins with the word Shayach. Right?
Yeah.
So we say, the Rebbe is saying that the Neshama came down Lamato for the purpose of two types of avodah. Avodas are birurim and avodah of nisoyim. Because these two avodas, this is what is mevarer, what cleanses out and purifies out those inyonim that fell into the gashmis, into the physical world, and elevates them. And this, the following and all that we discussed last time. And then, as a result of this avodah, the neshama reaches higher levels. Because the neshama, although it is entirely pure and does not need perfection, does not to correct anything. So the Rebbe explains briefly that correction it does not need, but elevation that the neshama also needs. Not only also needs, but on the contrary, the neshama, that is where elevation is really possible, because the neshama is an atzmi. Chelek minho etzem. Because the neshama is chelek minho etzem, a chelek, a part of the etzem, of the essence of godliness. Because the neshama is a chelek of the etzem, we discussed last time, that this means that the neshama can rise to absolutely no limit, all the way to the etzem. This is why in the neshama, the union of aliyah, of rising, is absolutely possible. Now we continue further. V'ho aliyah hu alidei habirurim de lamato. And this elevation comes about through the birurim that the neshama does here lamata, here below. I want to, again, I guess we mentioned it before, focus in on the concept of birurim. That how we could recognize that birurim is something that accomplishes a very special result. The union of birurim means that you are selecting out, you're sifting, you're clearing up something that is hidden, something that is in a state of confusion, and you sift it out and clean it up and clean it out. This process of clearing something that's hidden, that's confused, is possible only if one has a clear view of where he wants to go, despite the confusion. Even though it's a confusing situation. Like, I'll give you a simple illustration. when you follow a certain road, a certain path. So if this road goes from east to west straight, no problem. You know exactly you're going westward. But if the road goes zigzag, sometimes it's going south, sometimes going north, sometimes going west, sometimes, then you can lose track of which way you're going. If you have a very clear view, you don't get confused, then you can go into all kinds of zigzag and you know where you're going. This is called birurim. The neshama comes down into this world, and the world is very distant and very unclear as to what it stands for. It seems entirely a meaningless and a gashmistic world going no place. And the neshama comes down and starts sifting things out, and he says, this is good, this is not good, this I'm going to do, this I'm not going to do. Even though the situation itself doesn't demand it, doesn't say what you should not do, doesn't ask for it. Now, the world itself doesn't care what you do with it. But you recognize this is, for me, this is good, this is not good. That means that you're bringing out a sense and recognition and understanding that is higher than world, that the world will not confuse you. Okay, and that is that brings aliyah to the neshama. The aliyah is to biruri. Ki habirur lamato, because the birur below, yocheliyois, is possible to be al dei haneshama is dafka. Is possible only through the neshamas. And he's going to briefly explain what's so special in the neshama is that the neshamas are able to do this. The haneshamas, because the neshamas, mipnei shehein be'etzem, because the neshamas in essence, shoroshon mibchinas shema, they are rooted in what's called shema, which we'll discuss in a moment. Hamevarer, that clears, that is mevarer. Obeyoiser, and moreover, more than that, shehei mibchinas atzmus ein soif, the neshamas are from atzmus ein soif, shezehu etzem bchinas ma, which is the essence of ma. Varei heim bchinas atzmiyim, and thus they are atzmiyim. Now this goes on a long discussion that will involve this union, but let me explain to you these short words over here. Shema and etzem shema, ein sof, and all that. You will come, I'm sure you already came across, and you come across in Chassidus very often the term etzem, atzmiyim. Which means, which we translate in English to mean as essence. What is this actually express? What does this tell us? I'll start with a little illustration, moshel, and we'll discuss it. If you have light shining. The light can be shining on a piece of pure gold, on a diamond. The sun can be shining on garbage, on a swamp. And the light always remains pure. It doesn't become dirty. It doesn't become affected purer by shining on gold, and it doesn't become dirty by shining on dirt. Even though it actually shines on the dirt and makes it possible to see the dirt, becomes part of it. And yet, it itself is not affected by it. Why? Because light is through and is well, let me take a contrast. You put pure water in dirt, the water becomes dirty. Why? Because the water can actually mix with the dirt. It can take in all kinds of different impurities. Light always remains light, and it cannot take in impurities. And the reason for that, if we examine the thought of it, is water does not stand on its own. Water does not stand on its own. I'll explain. Water falls down, right? Why does water fall down? It falls down to the ground. It falls down to the ground not only because it's heavy, but because it does not hold up. It does not have an essence that holds it up. Like you put water in a cup, it stays in the cup. It becomes part of the cup. Light is always connected to its source. Is always connected to the sun. And no matter where you shine it, it remains, in essence, what it is, what it was when it came out from its source. It doesn't change. Yeah.
Light is included in the sun or in the source?
Light is included in the source and comes from the source and is connected to the source. The important thing is that it is always connected to the source. And I want to discuss this idea that is connected to the source. If I hold this up, and this is connected to my hand, it's not the same thing as saying that the light is connected to the sun. What is the difference? The difference is that this and my hand are two separate things. This does not represent my hand. This represents a piece of cloth. But I am holding it in my hand. Whereas light coming from the sun, what does light represent? It represents the sun. Wherever it goes, what does light represent? The sun. When light comes, What is the announcement? What does it tell you? The sun has come. And this is the union of neshama. Neshama, being it says neshama, is from etzem from Ein It means that the neshama, whatever the neshama is, it is not identifying, pronouncing its own presence. The neshama is, and the main message of the neshama is that it's so that Hashem is here, not that I am here. Just like the light, the message of the light is that the sun is here, not that I am here. Okay, we get the Mitzvah Hashem become even more clear, but we get the point. Etzem means that it is in the same, always remains the same. It's always representing its source, the Etzem. And because that the neshama is atzmiim, this is why the neshama can be mevareh. Because wherever you put the neshama, you can throw it in dirt, like you can throw light into dirt, and it will remain light. It doesn't become dirt. Something that becomes involved in the place where you put it cannot be mevareh, because it becomes part of it. Okay. Should we go on? The Zehu HaHefresh, this principle that we said, that neshomas are atzmiyim, and that's why they're able to be mevarer. This is the difference, the principal difference between neshomas, v'oires shalamayla u'malochim, and oires from above, neshomas and oires shalamayla and malochim. Malochim are also in the higher worlds, but malochim could not be mevarer the world lamata. Only neshomas are able to be mevarer. What is the union? The hinei lamaylo hinei hakoil hu bechinas oir. When you talk about lamaylo, everything is in the aspect of oir. One more line and we'll discuss this. The lamaylo eino shayach hinyan hageshem klal. Lamaylo above, the concept, the principle of geshem, of physicality, is not shayach. Is altogether not possible, not applicable. Okay. Now, I'll try to understand the union of oir versus when it says geshem. The truth is that oir is something which we can also experience. We also have oir, like we have oir ha-seichel. Seichel and midas is also oir. It's a different type of oil than we are talking about, oil shalamaylo. But this is also oil. What is the difference in general between oil and geshem? Physical. And that over here says oil and geshem. And it says lamailo, everything is bechinas oil. So, Geshem, we'll start from Geshem. Geshem we can readily relate to. As we spoke already, I think one time, if I'm not mistaken, that that a Geshem, a Dover Gashmi, it has two parts to it. It has its form and it has the material, the Gashmi. The Geshem itself, the material itself, does not care what you make of it. In other words, if you have a piece of wood, you can make a table of it, you can make a spoon of it, and you can just throw it in the street. It's still the same piece of wood. You take this piece of wood, which is a geshem, and then you can form it into whatever form you want to make. But it can exist even without a form, without any particular value, particular meaning, particular function. This is the meaning of Geshem. And that there is a presence, something, just a presence. And then, on top of the presence, you add to it a function. You know what function is? A value. What you're going to do with it. Like this is a piece of plastic. Oh, it became a cup. Oil is a different thing. Oil means that the very value, the very presence of the inyan is what its function is. There is no presence without a function. Like, for instance, thought, a seichel. Never mind. You can't have an idea, a seichel, without a seichel, without any content. The very existence of it is its content, is its value. And this is what the Rebbe says here briefly. That Lamailo, everything is Bechinas Oir. The Neshama, like in the goof has a Neshama in it, and because the Neshama is in the goof, the Neshama is alive. When Rahman al-Sam, when the Neshama leaves the goof, does the goof cease to be? The goof is still there. But now it's without a neshama. And if it's without a neshama, then it's useless. What's the end of the goof? But it's still there. Because Begashmis it could be without the oil, without a value. Whereas the neshama, but in the neshama is the very value of it, the chayus. That's what it is. This is the pshat that in Maila everything is bechinas oil. I'm sorry?
Form in the Shama where it has its own content. That's considered the form and the matter of it. Or not necessarily one or the other.
Is that the form?
When you said
Shoma has its own content, yeah?
something has form and matter, right?
Oh yeah, in the matter, in the Gashmis we have form and matter.
But in Or it's not like that, it's not a division.
In Oir, for the point at this moment, there isn't. I mean, we'll discuss sometimes in more detail, but in general, the union of Oir is that it is Oir through and through. Like we said before, the light of the sun, that's a motion for Oir, the light of the sun is light through and through. There isn't a part of it that is light, and a part of it that is the matter. Okay? So he starts what he says. L'maylo in shayach inyan hageshem klal. The union of geshem is totally not applicable l'maylo. The hainu, which means the whole inyan hamtzias l'maylo hu oir. It means that the whole inyan hamtzias means the entire concept of presence, of existence, l'maylo, is the union of oir. That's the real mitzias. Ukmoi lamato, boilam hazeh, just as here lamato in this world, hine kol inyan hamitzius, hu b'mitzius geshem. The mitzius, what do we call mitzius? What do we call existence and presence in this world? Is in the mitzius geshem, something that exists in a physical sense. That's the kind of mitzius. There could be all kinds of different things. But what is overall, what does it mean it exists? First and foremost, it has a gashmistic presence. Then it can have a form, and you can have a function and so forth. V'ha'hevdel, and the difference bein mitzius achas l'zuloso, the difference between one mitzius, one entity, and zuloso, and another entity, hu beguf ve'etzem mitzius. Guf ve'etzem mitzius means that the difference between one and the other is the fact that they are two separate mitzius. Not only in their difference. If you have two cups, they're the same thing, two cups. But are there two or one? They're two. What differentiates them? Nothing, except that this is this and this is this. This is Gashmi. It isn't that they're distinguished in aspect, in quality, that they have a different message. Guf v'yatzim, its very presence, its very existence is distinguished one from the other. Lahavra, when you have two people, the difference between one person and another is not just this is this person, this is that this person. Not just that there are two people, but they're different. Every person is different, has a different mind and different appearance. But in the Gashmi aspect, the physical aspect, is that they're two separate mitzias. Even if they were entirely identical, they would also be two. Because in Gashmis, everything is distinguished by the Gashmi, not by the Ruhi. Okay, so let's see inside. The separation between one Metzius and the other is beguv v'yatzem Metzius, is in its very existence itself. Loi rag b'toya, not just in the Toya. In the Toya, in the description, Toya means the description of the Metzius. The Metzius ze ogul, u'Metzius ze meruba. That this Metzius is is circular, one Metzius is square. Vehadoime, and such like differences. That's not what distinguishes one Gashmi from another, just in its appearance. Kiyim, but more shehem chalukim zeh mizeh. They are different, they are separated one from the other. B'maram, v'reichom, v'tamom, in their appearance, their smell, and their taste. V'yim zeh, and still in a kulam ki echod nikroyim b'shem kloli geshem oy choymer. All of them equally have one general term, general name, that is called goymer, geshem, physical, or choymer, or material, even though they're different in all kinds of different appearances. V'hagam shehem kulam nikroim b'shem echod, even though that they're all called by this one name, the single name of Geshem. Hine Hashem hazeh, this name, hu rak shem hateir. This is only the Shem HaToyar, a descriptive name. The Metayev that describes as a klol is hadvorim anikroim Shem zeh, that all the things that are called by this name, hine mehusam echod. Mehusam echod, they have one quality to it. Okay, so what is the Rebbe saying? That when we talk about Gashmi, we say this is a Gashmizik world. In Gashmizik world, everything in every entity is a separate mitzvah. Not only separate, but different. Different shape, different taste, different smell, different color, all kinds of differences. With all of these differences, they all come under one category. The one category called Geshem. Gashmius. Why? Because this Gashmius is what gives them a presence. This is what makes them be. This is what we discussed before. What makes them be is not their color, not their smell, not their taste, but the Geshem. This is the Mahus, this is the overall presence that they represent. Okay, let's continue. In Mitzvah Hashem, after we finish the Sinyan, we'll have a chance to chew it over and discuss it more and bring it down to something that is meaningful for us. The same is true regarding the Metzius above. Asher Lamailo, that Lamailo above, in Ruchnius, Hagam sheyeshnom nivroim v'inyonim, that although there are all kinds of creations and all kinds of inyonim Lamailo, k'moi neshomes, such as neshomes, as spherois, the spherois, malochim, and heicholois. Heicholois means chambers, umazolois. There are all kinds of inyanim l'mayla. Omnom, kulom, heim, and yet all of them are bibchinos hametzias shalamayla. They all have one inyan in one. They're all common. They're all equal. What's called metzias shalamayla, a presence that is a higher presence. What is that presence? The metzias shalamayla. Heim oiris. The Metzias Lamaila is oiris. The Metzias Lamato is Gashmi. The Metzias Lamaila is oiris. Huh? Mazolis, right? What?
The star sign.
No.
What does it mean?
Not for now. Okay. At this point, the Rebbe wants us to understand one nekuda, that here lemato in this world, everything that exists, regardless of the fact that there are many things that can be very different one from the other, but there is one central aspect that describes them all, and that is that they are Gashmi. Similarly, Lamailo, there are also many, many different inyonim, but there is one single aspect that describes them all, that they are oiris. And we explained before the difference between Gashmi and oiris. That oiris are essentially related to the inyan that they are, to their message, to their quality, whereas Gashmi is just related to the fact that they exist, their presence. Okay, so he says that the Metzius L'mayla, the general Metzius L'mayla are all oiris. Rak, except Shehoirois, that the oiris, oir, Sheheim HaMetzius Shalamayla, which is the Metzius above, Harei Heim Chalukim Zeh Mizeh. They are different one from the other. They are different kinds of oiris. They are different one from the other. But Dugmas Dovor, similar to Moishe HaMetzius Shalamato Mishtani, just like the Metzius here Lamato, here below, changes and they are different one from the other. The same way the Metzius Shalamayla are also different type of Metzius. Lahainu, which means the Hagam, the HaMetzius Shalamato, that even though the Metzius Hilam below, Hine im heyois, that even though Asher Kulom Nikroyim B'Shem Kloli, the Kloli, the Gashmi, the Chumri, they're all called by one general name, Gashmi, Chumri. Everything that exists in this world goes into one category and one name of Gashmi v'Chumri. B'chol zeh, and still there are many, many differences amongst them. The Rebbe goes in briefly in this discussion, in the differences. Harei, behold, loy rag hametzius, the daled minei. Not just that the metzius of the four categories of Datzcham, of Doimein, Tzemeya, Chai, Medaber. You guys know, you heard of Datzcham before? Everybody? Yeah? Doimein, Tzemeya, Chai, Medaber, which means the inanimate, the growing, the plant, and Chai, the animal level, and Medaber, and the human being. Chalukim Zemizeh. So there are four categories in the general world. So not only that, Elo, but Chol, Prad, Bechol, Hadan, Adalad, Mine, Datzcham, every detail, every entity within the four categories, Chalukim Zemizeh, are different one from the other. Ve'ein Zeh, and it is not only this Chalkusom Zeh Mizeh Hu Biklolus Hamin. Their differences and separation from one from the other is not only in Klolus Hamin, in the general species. Min means species, like a dog, a cat, and all them different meaning, different kinds of creatures. Elo Shahis Chalkus Hu Biprote Hamin Biyatzmei. But there are separation and differences within one species itself. Ukishem, where just as shebegufe b'nei yodom, that in the bodies of people, halei omru razal, the Chazal say, ve'ein partzufeihen shovis, that the appearances, the human appearance, the human body, and the human face, they're not two people alike. Ein partzufeihen shows they don't all any look alike. V'hainu, which means the Hagam, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hidbiyah Zo'odah, that even though that Hashem had imprinted the human being b'cheisomei shel Odom Horishin, with the stamp or with the form of Odom Horishin, all human beings, Hashem created one human being, Odom Horishin, and all human beings that follow are replicas, so to speak, from Odom Horishin. Upirush Rambam, the Rambam explains that it means Hatzura Asher Bo Ha'odom Odom. A human being has a form. The form that a human being has, that is the form that describes a human being as a human being. That makes a human being a human being. Hatzura Sheba Ha'odom Odom. Which means, briefly, that a human being, in contrast to an animal walks on straight on four legs, and its head is on four legs or whatever number, but the head is straight with its body. A human being stands up erect, and the head is above all other limbs. This is the tzura that makes a human being a human being. Hatzura shebahu odom odom. So even though every human being has this tzura that describes him as a human being, and in that respect they're all equal. Hine b'chol zeh, and yet hine ein partzufeihen shovis zelo zeh, and yet their appearances are not equal one to the other. They're all different. Asher kein hu bechol protei mine hadatzcham. And this is also true in all details of mine hadatzcham, of the different species of doimen shemei chaim medaber. Ve'ein echod mehem doim el chaveirei. When there isn't one that is similar exactly like the other one. As we can actually observe and see with our own senses. In the plant life. Be'alim hatzoimchim, alim means the leaves. Hatzoimchim be'anfoi ilonis. Leaves that grow on the branches of trees. Oy be'hadshoyim va'asabim, or in the grasses. Hatzoimchim basoda that grow on the field. Ve'ein ole echod, when there isn't one leaf, doim elechaveir. There are no two leaves alike on the same tree. Ve'ein deshe ve'oise ve'esev echod doim elechaveir. And there isn't one blade of grass that's exactly equal to another blade of grass. Elo, but rather the whole echod mehoalim, that each one of these leaves, v'chol echod ve'echod mehatshoyim v'asabim, and each one of these grasses, yesh lahem tziyur miyuchat. They have a specific and a unique form. V'im heyoisom kulam mimin echod, where even though that they're all from one kind, one species, umishtabim, and they are equal, bipiulosom usgulosom, they're all equal in their function and their effect, marom in their appearance, general appearance, tamom their taste, vereichom and their smell. They're all equal in that. B'chol zeh, and yet still, hineo echad mishtana b'chavere. And yet, each one is different from the other one. This whole discussion, we went through very quickly, because there's nothing much that I can add to this. But this whole discussion pointing out how in this same physical world, it's all one world, it's all called the physical world. And yet, each thing is different than the other. What is this to teach us? This is going to teach us, as we're going to see further, that similarly, when we talk about ruchnius, even though in the ruchnius we don't readily see the difference between one and the other, because ruchnius we have very little understanding of, but nevertheless we have to recognize that similarly in ruchnius and in noiros, there are also very different things. Just like in Gashmis, there are very different things. V'tam hadover hu, okay, we continue later. V'tam hadover hu, the reason for this, the reason for the fact that every leaf and every blade of grass and every human being are all different. Lefi, because the whole ola, because every leaf, desha ve'esev, and every grass, and every desha means general greens, yesh loy mazal miyuchod, has a unique mazal. What is this mazel? Shehu hachayus ho'eliki, which is the godly life force. Hamchaya oisoi, that gives it life. Umegadloi mikatnos legadlus, and makes it grow from inception, from a small beginning unto maturity, from smallness to maturity. Which means that every leaf that grows does not just grow on its own, but there is a godly chayus that makes it grow, and the godly chayus defines exactly what this leaf should look like and what type of chayus it represents. V'zehu inyan ha'hizboinanus. This is the principle hizboinanus, the morabu ma'asecho havaya. Hizboinanus means the reflection. It says morabu ma'asecho Hashem. We say in davening, how great are your deeds. Rabu means multiple, because the multiplicity is in two things. Number one, in the fact that there are infinite number of different species, different creatures, and then the differences within each creature itself, within each species, how every detail is different than the other, every leaf is different than the other leaf. So we see this all represents and shows us the greatness of the Creator. This is the Hizbonus Merav Masecho Havaya. Okay, let me just finish this. So this is the way it is Begashmius. Begashmius, and even though it's a Gashmistic world, yet everything, there are many different species, many different forms to every species. Padug, so the same Inyanim will be understood the way the Inyanim are Lamaylo. The Gam HaMetzius de Lamaylo, that the existence, the presence above also. Im heyoisom ruchni ve'oir, even though that in general they're all ruchnias and oir, b'chol zeh hareihem chalukim zeh mizeh, and yet they're quite different one from the other. Ve'ein oidoime, and thus it is not similar. Hametzius or ruchni de mazolois, the ruchni de kemetzius of mazolois, la hametzius or ruchni de hecholis. Mazolos and hecholis are both ruchnis, but they're not the same thing. They're not similar. V'hametzius de hecholis, la hametzius de malachi. And then similarly, the metzius of hecholis is different than the malachi, ho'elyenim. V'hatzius de malachim ho'elyenim, and also the metzius of the higher malachim, la hametzius de esesphires, is different than metzius of esesphires be'eres v'kelim. And then ultimately, hametzius, the esesphires, la hametzius de neshomes. The neshomes are the highest of all of these. So the esesphires are not similar to the metzius of neshomes. Sheheim bechinas atzmim be'etzem mehusa. But the neshomes are atzmi.
Does Atzmi mean by itself?
What?
Atzmi means like by itself?
No, atzmim, we discussed before, atzmim, that they are connected to the essence for atzmus. And because that they are atzmim, this is what makes it possible for the neshomes to be in this world and be mavar in the world. All right. this, as I mentioned before, and clear it in the Rebbe's words themselves, it is clear what the Rebbe wants us to understand, and he'll further discuss it and explain to us the significance of this, that we have to understand, we have to somehow be able to relate to the principle. When we say malachim, when we say neshamis, they're not the same thing. Even though malachim we don't see and neshamis we don't see. They're ruchnis and this is ruchnis. But it is important, the Rebbe says, for us to be able to understand that ruchnius is also a real metzius. Ruchnis is also a real metzius. It is so real that there are differences between one metzius and another. Like when we have all of us here, each one of us we all have a goof, and we all are quite different in our goofing. But we also have neshamas, and each one of us has a neshama, and each neshama is different than the other neshama. Like you're learning in Tanya, there is neshamas of tzaddikim and beinanim, the different kind of neshamas. The neshama itself, even though we can't tell the difference, it's ruchnis, but everyone has a neshama. And this union that everyone has a neshama, even though we don't see it, that is the principle that defines the person. And that which we understand in ruchnis, when we say, I believe that Hashem created the world, I understand that Hashem created the world, I understand the inyan from Torah and mitzvahs, whatever it is that we understand, it is due to this neshama. It is not that we understand it only because we were shown superficially, proven logically. We understand something because we have a neshama to understand it. So that when one, see, this is one thing which I just want to take the couple of minutes we have. When one has a certain faith, a certain insight, even though he cannot really prove it, he cannot really elaborate on it, but he has a sense, he believes in the Meibushin. So in this physical world, it is possible to argue and say, look, as long as you can't prove it and you can't really show it, it is fantasy, it's not real. Something that you can prove and show, that's real in this world. Something that you say, you believe, you think, but you can't prove and show, that's not real. So for this we have to understand that it is very, very real. Except it's a higher type of reality. It's a reality that's real because of the neshama. And this is why, if a person ignores, you know what ignores means? Disregards that belief, and he goes off chas v'sholom in a different way, it continues to follow him and drain at him. Why? Because it's real. It is really real, except he cannot, there's no gashmis to it. But it's very real. Because ruchnis, the kimitzias, is just as real, and in fact, much more real than gashmis the kimitzias. Gashmis the kimitzias can change. Ruchnis the kimitzias is oil, which does not change. Okay?